Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yato Anvayaditaratascha Artheshu Abhignaswarat Tene Brahmahridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayah Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Swena Sada Nirastakohakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Nigamakalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukad Amritadrava Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. We enter the 11th chapter now of the 8th Skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in the episode of the Yuddham, the war between the Devatas and the Daityas, that is the demigods and the demons. After the churning of the ocean was finished and the nectar was all given to the demigods, the Devatas were now empowered, and then we saw that the demons attacked them and there was a fierce battle. And then towards the end, when they were overpowered, the demigod surrendered to the Supreme Lord, and then he descended and empowered them again. So again, all of this is symbolic of also what goes on within us, the fight between the good and evil thoughts, the divine and demoniac tendencies, and how they are always in battle. And this battle is never ending, and therefore the only way out of it is by surrendering to the Supreme Lord and not by fighting and engaging in this back and forth and this fight between good and evil. So Shuka Brahma Rishi continues, now that the Supreme Lord came and empowered them and left. Again, Devatas were fully empowered, and Indra, the head of the Devas, he now started attacking with great ferocity. So he has this thunderbolt, Vajra, which is very powerful, and with that he started attacking Bali, the king of the demons. And so everybody was very amazed by this sudden fury in Indra, and Indra was now furiously attacking and yelling at Bali, saying, "You think you can conjure and create all kinds of Maya?" Because the demons had done that before, as we saw. They created through their conjuring tricks mountains that are raining fire and snakes and oceans that are coming past their shores and so on. And all of that was removed. The delusion was removed when the Lord appeared. So now Indra says, "You think you can conjure and take away our wealth and our superiority? Now I shall teach you a lesson, and I shall cast you to a really low place, because my thunderbolt is so powerful that I can chop off all you people." So he got very arrogant. So here again we see a role reversal, because now Bali Maharaj replies. Bali Maharaj is the head of the demons, and he says very beautifully, very calmly, when Indra is now completely puffed up with pride, after Bhagavan came and helped the Devatas and left, now Indra is so puffed up with pride because he's got all the power back, and the Devatas are now dominant and the demons are on the run. So he is now so arrogant, and he says, "Look what I'm going to do with my thunderbolt to all you people." So this is the pride of arrogance that Indra demonstrates. So when the Lord came and helped him, instead of recognizing that he was completely vanquished and without the help of the Supreme Being he would have been completely defeated, he thought it is his thunderbolt that is the reason for the victory, and he became so puffed up with pride. So this is again symbolic of how even the good qualities in us can actually result in great pride. Sometimes our negative qualities can be a great teacher, because we may get angry or we may commit some mistake, and then that can in turn result in self reflection, and that can in turn invoke grace. Whereas if one engages in some pious activity outwardly, engaging in charity or some noble cause and so on, and everybody is praising, then that can simply puff up the ego, and instead of surrendering, one can take credit for all that, and it can be more bewildering. So that's what we see here, how the The Devas, represented by Indra, are now arrogant, whereas the demons, headed by Bali, are now actually more calm. So, Bali beautifully says, "Oh Indra, you are talking so arrogantly, and you think you are able to win, and so on, but you don't recognize that fame, victory, defeat, death, all of this come in battle, and all of this is simply by the effect of time or destiny." He says, Sangrame Vartamananam Kalachodita Karmanam Kirti Jayo Ajayo Mrityuhu Sarvesham Suranukramat. So he says everything, Kirti, that is fame, Jaya, victory, Ajaya, that is defeat, and Mrityu, death, all of this come simply by time. Kala Chodita Karmanam. It's time, which is destiny, that makes all these happen in the battle of life itself. And therefore, he says, wise men view everything as determined by time, and they neither gloat over it nor grieve over it. But you seem to be ignorant, and you are gloating and being very arrogant about it. So he says, Tadidam kala rashanam janah pashyanti surayah na hrishyanti na shochanti tatra yuyam apanditaha. So he says, those who are ignorant like you, apanditaha, they seem to exult or they seem to grieve over matters, but the ones who are truly wise, they neither exult nor grieve. He says, na hrishyanti na shochanti. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in a similar way in the 18th chapter, he says, na shochati na kankshati. Brahma Bhutaha. So one who is abiding in Brahman, the supreme truth, he says, na shochati na kankshati. He neither grieves nor is he excited, or nor does he desire anything. So that's the nature of a wise being. So Bali Maharaja, the great king, so as we already mentioned, Bali is an exceptional demon because he is the grandson of Prahalada, and therefore we'll see in the subsequent chapters how Bali in fact symbolizes the highest principle of self-surrender. So even when we saw the chapter of Prahalad where he describes 9 ways of devotion, and the 9th was Atma Samarpan, Atma Nivedan, and this Atma Nivedan, that is surrendering oneself completely, the best example that's always given is Bali, who offers his own head to Vamana when he appears, and we'll see that wonderful avatar of Vamana very soon. But we see, therefore, that Bali is an example of one who is completely in the mode of self-surrender. Just as Prahalad, though born a demon, was a great devotee of the Lord, similarly, Bali, also born a demon, like his grandfather Prahalad, is a great devotee. So we see the beautiful reversal where Indra is puffed up with pride, whereas Bali is very humble and he gives words of wisdom. So he says, Na hrishyanti na shochanti. Neither do we exult over things going well, nor do we grieve over things not going well, because we see everything is due to time. It's only the unwise, the ignorant, who either exult or grieve. And so this is, as we said, it's in the Gita too, and this is the most practical wisdom. If we simply recognize that everything happens through the agency of time, through the agency of the 3 gunas, and therefore everything happens as per destiny, then there is no sense of doership, and therefore there is no sense of either excitement over something going well or grief over something not going well. Everything can be easily taken equanimously. So that's why Bali says, न वयं मन्यमानानाम् आत्मानां तत्र साधनं गिरोवः साधुशोच्यानां गृह्णीमो मर्मताडनाः. He says, we do not take to heart the words you are saying, that is, you are saying all these words to sting us, but we do not take these words to our heart at all, because you actually deserve to be pitied, because you consider yourself as the instrument of your fame. So it's a very beautiful pointed verse that Bali is saying. He's saying, Na vayam manyamananam atmanam tatra sadhanam. We do not consider ourselves to be the instrument of any results. So this is exactly what Krishna said in Gita, again in the 2nd chapter, where he says, karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. He says you have the right to do the action, but the results are not at all your right, because the results are ordained by destiny. So Bali says the same thing here. We do not consider ourselves to be the instrument of any results, whereas you seem to consider yourself the instrument of the results such as fame and victory, and therefore you seem deluded. So these words of wisdom coming from Bali are quite appropriate, because as we will see more and more, Bali is a great devotee. But in any case, Indra is completely stung by these words, because Indra is caught in pride and he cannot take these words. As we can see, the thing that's very hard for an ignorant person to take is words of wisdom, because it reflects on them poorly. And so rather than learning from the wise, they attack the wise. And so that's what Indra does. Indra then got very angry. He could not bear this speech, which he considered as insulting, and therefore he hurled his thunderbolt against Bali, and Bali fell down in the battle. And after Bali fell to the ground, there was great commotion, and therefore a friend of Bali called Jambha, who's another demon, he came and attacked Indra, and there was a great fight. Jambha was riding on a lion, and he took his mace and he attacked the elephant Airavata on which Indra was riding. The elephant fell down, and then after that, the charioteer of Indra, who is called as Matali, he brought 1,000 horse chariot. So Indra switched from the elephant who had fallen down to the chariot, and then Jamba started attacking the charioteer Matali. Matali got injured, but he was able to endure the injury. Meanwhile, Indra again hurled the thunderbolt and killed Jamba's head, it is said. So these are all stories that are there in the Puranas, which are actually very descriptive. And also, as in the last chapter, again they bring the rasa of warfare, the mood of war, and how it has its own glory to it, but its own goriness to it. And therefore, all this kind of violence that happens in a battlefield is described. And so, after Jambha is killed, three other demons come: Namuchi, Bala, and Paka. And the first Bala and Paka, it is said they attack Indra. Bala attacks the 1,000 horses with as many arrows. So he is a great archer. So he launches 1,000 arrows on the 1,000 horses. We saw the chariot of Matali has 1,000 horses. And so all the 1,000 horses are attacked by Bala. And meanwhile, the other demon Paka, he struck the charioteer separately with hundreds of arrows at the same time. So he took it is said one in the same bow, in one shot he was able to send 200 arrows and attack the charioteer Matali. So such fierce attack was going on, but Indra somehow was still fighting valiantly. And then the third demon Namuchi, he also attacked him like almost like a cloud comes and covers with dust and everything the whole sun. It is said that Namuchi came roaring, and after that he sent an arrow, a network of arrows. So because of the three-pronged attack, Bala attacking the 1,000 horses, Paka attacking the charioteer, and Namuchi attacking Indra directly, the whole place was covered with dust, and Indra himself was not seen. It was all completely covered. There was just as clouds cover sun, Indra and his chariot and everything was covered up, and therefore the Devatas all for a moment thought Indra is gone, and they were all left without a leader, and they felt they were vanquished, and they were, it is said, very sorrowful, like merchants who are wrecked in the middle of an ocean. And at this point, Indra valiantly came roaring back out of that cloud of dust. He was completely intact. The horses were intact. The chariot was intact. His flag was intact. The charioteer Matali was intact. And it is said that Indra comes out shining like a sun out of this cloud of arrows, this cloud of dust, and so on. And with great fury, he severs the heads of Bala and Paka, the two demons. And then only Namuchi is left. and there is a fierce battle that goes on between Namuchi and Indra. And Indra hurls his thunderbolt on Namuchi too, but very surprisingly, the thunderbolt does not do anything to Namuchi. So Indra is now very worried because his main weapon is the thunderbolt and it doesn't kill Namuchi. And so Indra wonders, how is this possible? Because I have even clipped mountains with this thunderbolt. I have killed Vritrasura with this thunderbolt. Now we may recall the beautiful story of Vritrasura, who was the story we saw in the sixth skandha, where Chitraketu, the king, who became a great devotee but who made a remark about Lord Shiva being with Parvati and therefore he was cursed to be a demon, but he was born as a very pious demon to the Devata Twashta. And we saw how Vritrasura fought against the Devas, but he offered the most beautiful prayers to Sri Hari and he left his body and his Atma Jyoti, the light of his being, merged with the Supreme Being. So we saw this beautiful story of Vritra. So Indra recalls that and says, I even killed the great Vritra, who was so pious and such a great demon, with this thunderbolt, but how come Namuchi is not dying? And then he gets a help from a voice, it is said, and the voice tells him how to kill this Namuchi. So Indra conjures up a weapon made of foam, very surprisingly, and with foam he is able to attack Namuchi, because Namuchi has a boon that he shall not be killed in any other way. So the only way is to kill through foam. So he creates a weapon made of foam and somehow kills him, submerges him in foam, and he kills him. And once this happens, all the devatas are all celebrating and everybody is happy, and the devatas now start slaughtering the other demons. Now when this is happening, Narada comes, and Narada, who was sent by Brahma himself, he comes and he stops this extermination of the demons. So Narada says, you have already got the nectar and you have already got the refuge of the Supreme Lord. Now you have to cease from all these hostilities and go back. Narada says, Bhavedbhir Amrutam Praptam Narayana Bhujashrayah Shriya Sameditha Sarva Uparamata Vigrahat. So you've got Amritam, you've got nectar, you've got the support of the arms of Sriman Narayana, and you are blessed by the goddess Lakshmi, Shri. So don't be greedy and don't try to kill everyone now, just go back. So this is how Narada, because the important thing here is Narada, being a great sage, he recognizes that there are great devotees in both the demons and the Devas. So we will see how, because of this action of Narada, Bali Maharaja's pastime with Vamana avatar will unfold. So Narada was the one, as we may recall, who also stopped Indra from killing Prahalada. When Prahalada was in the womb of his mother, Indra came to kill Prahalada, but Narada stopped him, saying, the boy in the womb is going to be a great devotee, so you go back. And so Indra went back listening to Narada. Similarly, here also Narada comes and stops because Bali is going to be a great devotee. So now we may ask, Bali already fell down in the battlefield, so how can he be a great devotee? So that is explained by Shuka Brahma Rishi. Now after Narada asks the Devatas to stop the killing and they all go back, then when the battlefield is emptied of all the Devas and most of the demons are killed, whoever is remaining with their body intact, including Bali, guru of the demons, as we have seen before, Shukracharya, he has got mystic powers, and with this mystic powers called Sanjeevani. Sanjeevani is an herb that can be used to awaken one who has lost his life. The Sanjeevani is of course referenced in Ramayana too, when Lakshmana is killed apparently by Indrajit, but Hanuman goes to the Himalayas, brings Sanjeevani and brings Lakshman back to life, as it were. Similarly, here too, Bali has fallen down on the battlefield, seemingly lifeless. There, Shukracharya, by his secret science of Sanjeevani, he awakens them. It says, Ushana Jivayamasa Sanjeevinya Swavidyaya. Ushana is another name for Shukracharya. So Shukracharya awakens them with Sanjeevani, and then thereby Bali is given his life back, and Bali, who got his senses of perception back, whose consciousness was restored by the sage Shukracharya, he was completely calm. So this is the character of Bali. He is calm. He didn't feel sorry. He was very tranquil. He was fully conversant with the nature of truth, and he took the whole matter of victory and defeat equanimously. It says, Parajito api na akidhyal loka tattva vichakshanah. So even though he was defeated, he took it very equanimously, and thereby being alive now was thankful and completely peaceful. So with this chapter ends. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.